everyone, this is Steve Weintraub with Collider. I'm here at our media studio in Austin at South by Southwest at the Cinema Center, and I'm thrilled to be here to be able to talk about, I want to make sure I say it right, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie.
You got it.
Right. I did that correctly this time. How are you both doing?
Great.
Tired. We had a big night.
Oh, so the premiere was last night.
Yes.
How I can only imagine that it played fucking huge.
Yeah, and we've had some people that have been following our whole story for a long time, and so many people came from all over, and so it was really rewarding and heart-melting to see so many people and deliver this to them.
As I said to you off camera, I was not familiar with the show. I just was like, I saw Blackberry and thought it was just so fantastic, and I'm like, I want to see what they're doing next. And watched the movie, and I was blown away by what you guys pulled off. A lot of people aren't going to be familiar with the show or the movie. How have you been telling people about it? Like, what is it about for people that don't know?
Believe it or not, we actually stopped telling people what Nirvana the band was about 8 years ago. And we just don't anymore.
For real?
Yeah. I mean, if somebody's like totally naive and they're like, oh, you made it. Like, I'll give you an example. When people ask, what's the movie you made about? We just say time travel.
But
we
that's
never,
a good selling point.
Yeah. We never, it's so difficult to explain what it is that it's so much better for them to hear from someone like you. Oh, you just have to see it and I can't explain it. Because as soon as you start explaining what Nirvana the band is, it winds up almost defeating itself because the explanation is so obtuse and weird that I think that unless you're really, really tuned into outsider cinema, you think, well, that's something that is definitely not for me. And so our philosophy, us and kind of all of our friends, has just been to just not explain it.
I'm so jaded with explaining this show now, and I love it. But telling people when they ask, like, what's it called? It's called Nirvana the band, the show. Oh, Nirvana? It has nothing to do with Nirvana. Yeah. Oh, and then like, goodbye. I have to just leave.
It's always so disappointing. But what's great is that we've been doing it for so long that now we don't even need to tell people about it. Other people are just being like, I know it sounds stupid, but you should just watch it.
Yeah, I really wanted to say real quick, you guys really, really made me laugh. And without any spoilers, you do something about an hour in that I was like, I fucking howled. It's in the Winnebago.
Oh yeah, that's a crazy moment.
Yeah, like
we worked hard on that. Yeah.
Like,
isn't that wild?
I just was like I'm so happy you guys are here so I can talk to you about this because I really am like. I really want to help you promote this. Do you know what I mean? So people check it out. But you do crazy shit in this movie. You're making a movie. You're involving real people. You are like, it's really incredible what you pull off. And I'm just curious, what is it like? Because you've been doing the show for a while and you do have fans. Did you have any moments where you were making the movie where you were actually encountering people who knew you and like ruined the shot?
All the time.
Well, you know, I mean, let's be gracious because for the most part, the people who know us kind of know how we operate. And so we had lots of people watching from a distance, but very rarely would somebody come in and ruin a shot because they kind of know how we make the show.
And we would say right mid-scene, we're like, we're shooting right now. And they go, oh, yeah, okay. And they would just go back to NPC mode.
Yeah. So it very rarely ruined things because Toronto's such a big city and we shoot right in the major metropolitan area. There's like one in probably 10,000 people that we interact with. And I mean, pass us or are in our frame that actually knows who we are and comes up to talk to us, etc.
The thing about the movie is that you shoot, as you just said, in the heart of downtown Toronto, like in areas that I know very well from the Toronto Film Festival,
right, yeah.
CN Tower, all the corners I know, all like King Street, like you're on Queen Street, you know, like you're all over the place. Like, do you get permits or do you just go for it?
What's so great about the scale of our films is that it's not like we're bringing trailers and huge crews in. It's Jay, myself, our cinematographer, Jared Rabb, either Luca Tarantini or Nikolai, and then Matt Grayson. And that's our whole footprint. So if you saw us or if the police, I mean, we interact with the police all the time. And what it looks like is that we're like film students shooting a meaningless project for a class. Like we're not stopping the flow of commerce in a way that a real film would.
We've also developed a lot of tricks to sort of just de-escalate the situation.
Or to blend in.
One of our favorites is when Jared was shooting a scene of Matt changing in a change room, and he was doing a scene, and the staff came up and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And we were on the spot, and Jared just came out with, "Oh, we're shooting a bachelor video for our friend," and he just melted. He's just like, "Oh, anything you guys need." Yeah. And in Canada, it's
helps
different
a lot.
Yeah. Right.
Because we shot a lot in the States. We shot a lot of Nirvana, the band, in the States. And it's weird. The differences aren't that it's more dangerous. It's that people are actually more friendly in the United States to us, much more so. And they're less guarded. And while at the same time, the infrastructure of the police and security, there's so much more security here, and they really don't want you shooting on private property. So it's an odd mix. Whereas in Canada, nobody, so long as you aren't causing a disturbance, nobody really cares what you're doing, because Toronto is a huge city. It's the biggest city in our country. And the police kind of have their hands full with the chaos of running an effective city, that a bunch of people with smiles on their faces shooting a movie that you just saw is really not a problem for them.
It's little pieces that they're seeing too. It's never looking too dangerous. It just looks bizarre. And so
exactly.
It's like, is this wrong? And by the time they're figuring that out, we're gone.
But no, we don't. It's not like we ever let anybody know that we're going to be shooting there, ever.
I'm going to bring this up. And let me know if you don't want to talk about it, if it's too much in the movie. But like, Back to the Future is part of this film.
Well, we wanted to make a Back to the Future movie. We love Back to the Future. We love Robert Zemeckis, and we thought it had been so long since that story. I mean, it's obviously a major classic, but we love the beats of it. And we thought it was so suited to what we wanted to do, because we knew we had this Boyhood style footage of Jay and I for 20 years. And we were like, well, how can we realistically use this as a story? And very quickly we were like, well, why don't we just do a 1-to-1 Back to the Future parody? And that's what led to all the music being that way, which Jay completely composed himself. It's what led to us building the time machine. Like that conceit really gave us the entire film.
So you have Huey Lewis.
Yes.
You have Power of Love.
Yes.
You have the Back to the Future, like the
main theme.
Well, you also have in the Winnebago. Is that what it's called?
Well, it's an RV.
RV, my bad. Yeah, I don't know. But in the RV,
sort of DeLorean.
Your DeLorean, which is the RV. You have the Back to the Future controls.
Yeah, Carrie Noonan, our production designer, rebuilt it exactly verbatim from the real pieces. Yeah.
And you make a joke in the movie about, when someone's doing the theme, copyright.
Yes.
So my question is, like, how the F did you pull this off? Let's just start with that.
It's easy when we love it so much. It's like we get to be kids and just pretend to make Back to the Future. Like that's what it really feels like. We just get to pretend we're making a real movie.
No, you're asking a legal question,
I'm asking
and
legally,
the answer.
How are you able to pull this up?
Well, you said you've seen BlackBerry, right?
Oh yeah.
And so BlackBerry, we're actually using almost all the same tricks, and that is, we have a really brilliant lawyer, and he's in California. His name's Chris Perez. He works for a firm called Donaldson, Callif and Perez. And he's been doing our fair use legals since the beginning of my career, since I was young. And so he and I and my producer, Matt Miller, developed a working formula for integrating fair use arguments into the belly of our movies. So I talked with him before I wrote the script to the film.
Yeah.
And so I would check that you bring up two great examples. The first one was us recreating the DeLorean inside of our own RV. So that was a conversation with him. How exactly are we going to do it? How am I going to reference it? You brought up this other point of Jay and I actually singing, and Jay playing on the piano, the Back to the Future theme, the main theme. That was a big discussion with Chris Perez. How should we do it? How can we integrate it into the story? And it's not that sexy, because it really is almost like writing essays for high school. That is the process of fair use. You make legal arguments to a future judge exactly how you want to, why you're doing what you're doing. But I love it.
What seems to set it apart is that when you get that answer of where the guardrails are,
then you know where
we
go.
can rewrite, and we will always be more malleable, I think, than the next script that is so, artistically locked in place. We will just amend until we can fit it.
And
through
because
the
we're
legal
working
system.
independently, it actually gives us an opportunity to do things that if you were, say, building a movie inside the studio system well, pick any studio you want. You're a Warner Brothers film executive. You're not going to begin with how can we make a fair use argument to compose a film, because it's just never done that way. And so one of the great things about like both modern American law as it stands with respect to artists, but the fact that a younger generation of very media saturated filmmakers are growing up right now means that I think that there's not only a growing thirst for this kind of thing to actually interact with our culture that made us the way that we are, but there are now the legal tools to do it properly in a way where we love this reaction, which is, how did you do that? It seems like you broke the law. Like, that's so thrilling.
Oh, no, I know you didn't break the law.
You're right, but it has the appearance of it, right? The veneer of
100%.
These guys don't care, and clearly that what they've done is illegal, and that's quite thrilling, I think, for an audience, because it lets you know the movie's out of control.
There's a fucking great moment where you guys are going, I believe it's when you're looking to try to buy pliers.
Oh yeah,
And-
with that
and-
libertarian, isn't
yeah,
that unbelievable?
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those moments, like when you're in the moment and you're shooting that, and you know you're in the middle of comedy gold. Like, how hard is it to maintain and not like sort of break, because it is, he's just amazing.
Yeah, it happens every once in a while where you meet somebody and you're like, okay, the term for it that we have is like, this guy's like lightning in a bottle. Like, we have to get this. But I got to tell you, after having done this, I mean, Jay and I've probably been in that exact situation 100+ times. It actually isn't that funny when you're there. You're more scared because there is a risk of humiliation with the individual that you're talking to, that if you were to be like laugh or smirk, then they would be they would almost be like you tore their clothes off. And I think the feeling of that actually makes it anti-funny. And so what Jay and I try to do is just,
It's not really trying not to laugh.
It's trying to keep us on track,
so that they don't think that anything is going on. So they can continue to give us that vulnerable, real
well,
self.
they can keep being themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I think, because generally our philosophy is not to mock people and not to like make them look stupid, which I think a lot of shows or a lot of content that's shot in this style does. It almost like the joke is, how could these people even believe that what they're seeing is sincere?
And it slightly manipulates them too. When I see other things do, like the way it's edited, it will manipulate the situation to make them look even
dumber,
more interesting, and we'll just show it very naked and real. And I think that's what makes it funny, because it's not going really hard for a joke. We're not really going in on any sort of punchline with them. They end up just through spending just a few seconds with them, giving people this exciting feeling of whatever this is, it's real. Like there's no acting.
And what's so great about this moment is that this guy just met us for the very first time, and within 30 seconds, he is sincerely trying to save our lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's not doing that insincerely. He's looking in my eyes saying, I think if you do this, you'll die. And he can tell he's dealing with people who are slightly like gone.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh, these guys might be crazy, and I'm the only person standing between them and a major catastrophe.
I'm running out of time, but there's a lot of things I need to bring up. So CN Tower is a big part of this thing. And you go in through the lobby.
We go in through security. Yeah.
Yeah, like how, when you're going through security and you'll see this in the movie, like you're wearing stuff
It's
on
crazy.
your back.
They didn't ask about the parachutes.
Like, you're wearing stuff that could be like a bomb pack.
Exactly.
Like, it could be anything.
And they're so focused on the pliers that they don't even notice the parachutes. I'll tell you the story behind that. We went in and did that, and we thought for sure, because we have a plan for what the movie will be, but we never know what will happen. We thought we were going to get turned away by security, and that would be the end of it.
And then we would write a story about another way to get in.
Exactly.
But instead, the movie now is that we just went right in.
And the guy just let us in, and we couldn't. Jay said every single time we watched that footage, he was like, how do they not bring up our backs? And our only theory is that maybe he thought we were hunchbacks.
Oh,
We just
maybe. Like, maybe he thought it would be indelicate to say, your backs look quite big. I don't know.
You walked through the metal detector.
Yes.
So it didn't set it off. So maybe if
they're fabric parachutes.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
I'm saying like if you had gone through the metal detector and it set it off, then it opens the door for him to be like, what's under your coat?
Right, exactly.
But
Yeah.
until then, maybe they have medical conditions.
Exactly. And we had a huge locus of attention in those pliers. That was the whole game.
Yeah.
That we just needed to talk about the pliers, and that's all he wanted to talk about. And then when his boss cleared them, we were like, okay, here we go.
Which was probably the most nefarious thing that's gone through that metal detector ever. So
Right.
It's so crazy, but also like there's so many shots in this that I'm like, how the did you do this?
Uh-huh.
Because, and again, I don't want to ruin the movie for people, but I so want to talk about specifics. But like you're on the roof of CN Tower. There's like
when I'm right on the very top of
Yeah,
it.
like
yeah, that's crazy too.
Yeah, like there's stuff that I truly don't understand how you got. You know, like
yeah,
that's great. We will.
That's good because
a lot of different
that
tricks
shot
and sleight of hand
in
went into
particular
that.
was very hard to do.
Yeah.
Like extremely hard.
Oh, I know there's creative ways of doing certain things, but like,
But it's great that you're asking the question of
like
how you don't know.
well, yeah, like I think VFX nowadays are incredible.
Yeah, and our VFX supervisor is a genius, Tristan Zarafa. We've been working with since the Dirties, and he's extremely, extremely smart and careful. But what we got to do on this film was basically combine what he's great at with what our production designer, Carrie Noonan, is great at. So what you're seeing, I would say 50% of the time when people are guessing how we did things, not only they're wrong, they have it like literally exactly opposite wrong. And the things that look impossible, we actually did. And the things that you would never think are VFX are completely faked.
Yeah, I'm telling you, people are gonna, they're gonna laugh their ass off. So one of the things I'm curious about is obviously you've had this title for the show for a long time,
Yes.
and now you've added the movie to the end.
Yeah.
Was there thought about like how did you decide on that's going to be the title? Was there thought about okay, well this is a pretty long title. Do we want this?
You're asking all the right questions.
Yeah.
It was an internal debate with us for probably a decade, truly, about this exact title. It's so hard because for us, it's a kind of inside joke because it is so anti-marketing in a way. Like you hear this and you're like, well, you need to change that title. And yet we keep coming back to the idea that you do need to buy a bit of a ticket to get into this world. And that ticket is giving up a bit of you're basically agreeing to enter something that is somewhat confusing off the beginning and know that you're entering something confusing because that's how you really get paid off. And so it seemed at once like exactly what the movie should be called because of the show and because of who these characters are. But also it is the kind of test or the barrier that an audience must pass through to get to the gold on the other side. And while maybe our distributors are thinking that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, for us, I think it's very useful for audiences to be like, oh, I'm in the club. Like I paid the ticket to get in. And now when I talk about this movie, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but I want to be a part of that club.
There, I don't want to spoil anything, but like there's stuff that you do on, is it Adelaide or Queen Street?
Queen Street's the big one.
Yeah, like there's stuff that you do on Queen Street involving, let's say rope. That
was a crazy sequence to shoot.
Like I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
I will just say there's just again crazy shit in this movie.
Yeah.
Like how the did you do that? And then you have a girl like laughing and smiling, like people are just letting you do this.
Oh, that girl from France?
Like,
yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah, she's helping me. Yeah.
I'm like, how is this happening?
Uh-huh.
Canada's a weird place.
Well, it's a multicultural city, and there's so many visitors. During the day, I think about half the downtown population are people that don't live in Toronto. Right? It's a little bit like Washington D.C.
So how did you? And again, I don't want to ruin anything, but how with that rope and other things, how the fuck did you do all that?
How much we want to say?
Well,
yeah,
look,
or
again,
we could avoid this till another time.
No, we're happy to say that again, like I said before, a good 50% of all of those sequences.
I meant on the actual street, not.
Yes,
Oh,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
of course. Yeah, so like when we're running that wire across downtown Toronto, 50% of what you're watching is just completely real. Like you're just,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, you're just watching literally Jay and I do it, and then we
You're not
pad it
seeing
afterwards.
what's off screen sometimes, and there's some elements of trickery and
Sure. Oh, I get it. Okay.
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on there, but yeah, and what we love is having people react to it, because that's half of it. There's that scene just after that where Jay's watching a news broadcast and the other people around him are also watching the news broadcast and reacting to what's happening on the CN Tower. And that's another great example where it is just happening. Like, it's happening for real.
Yeah.
Jay is there watching it. People are watching it.
As far as they're concerned, because we have control of those TVs and the news HUD, they're looking up and they're thinking, this is really happening.
Yeah.
So they're giving us that.
Which is the kind of stuff that is free, but other movies just can't do.
Yeah, like again, people are, yeah. Let's talk about editing real quick.
Sure.
Because I always love talking about editing, just because it's where it all comes together. So you have a cut of the movie that you are like pretty happy with.
Mm-hmm.
You start showing it to people. What did you learn from those screenings that like impacted the finished film?
You're talking about months ago?
Yeah, like when you first like you finish the edit, you have a cut you're happy with, or you're getting close.
So you know what? I should interrupt and say that we don't have a cut we're happy with even now.
Oh,
right?
really?
Like, our process is that we make films that are constantly evolving, and we screen them in public for people that we don't know, knowing that they're going to give us answers to what we need to fix. And this movie, we never, I mean, obviously last night we were extremely happy and the film is done.
It's
quote
very,
unquote,
very close.
But the idea that we would have a cut we're happy with that we then screen and learn from, that's not our process. We screen very amorphous versions of the film for large groups of people, and then we see how we feel with the audience as it goes, and that informs how we change it.
Yeah.
We do that a lot.
No, my question is, so have you screened it before South by?
Many times.
Right. And so what did you learn from those early screenings that impacted the film? Like, did you make any big changes?
We made
Insane
millions
amounts.
of changes, different movies. Yeah, completely different movies. It would be to go through the litany of changes would take us, like, that is our process.
Sure.
We test our own movies because we love the testing process. And it's not like we're looking for feedback either. We don't ask for feedback from audiences.
It's the magic thing where even if you're watching it, knowing that somebody that hasn't seen it is sitting next to you, without them even saying or reacting to it at all, you are seeing it vicariously through them.
We know
and
how
so
to
you
change.
get the new perspective. You know what to do. We look at each other in those screenings. We're like, well, of course, this is gone. We've got to change this.
And we even get new story ideas. So, I mean, the great story with Peter Hall is that he watched a cut of the film that was so early that 50% of the film had not been shot when he accepted it for South by.
Really?
Yeah. Because we change it so much. But by the end, what's so great is that we really hone in on something that we're all really stoked about.
So when did you show it to him?
December 21st.
I could continue talking to the both of you, as you can probably tell, but I would love to do a spoiler interview once the movie is out.
We'd love that.
And we can actually like get fucking in there.
Yeah,
and
it'd be great.
You know what I mean? I really want to thank you both for making me laugh out loud. I wish I saw it with a huge crowd, because I think I would have laughed even harder. But seriously, congrats on the movie.
Oh, we so
Thanks.
appreciate
You know what I
that.
mean?
Thank you for your time.